This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. And folks, I don't get a lot of guests from right here in Fredericton on the show, but every once in a while I'll have somebody on. And I've had a few just to promote some of the locals. And folks, I have a wonderful guest on here that I've known for the past, I'd say a good 15 years, maybe a little longer. And I remember when I met him, he is one of the masterminds behind a short film called Bloodshed. Folks, I give you the awesome Pierre Huard. How do you do, Pierre?
I'm doing very well, Greg. Thank you very much, bud. I'm honored to be on your show. I've been looking forward to this.
You know what? Glad to have you. Like I said, I just started a job at the hospital. I know you used to work there, and one of the night staff had I mentioned I was on doing a podcast, and he said, "You must have know Pierre," and I said, "Yeah." And we got conversation going. I was like, "I should have Pierre on the show."
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. When at my time at the hospital, I one of my duties there was taking bodies to the morgue. So it kind of fits into our theme. It wasn't fake bodies either. So, and I was the body parts and the blood and guts guy. So it's kind of ironic. But
So
we did get a chance to do a short film uh, in the hospital, and I was lucky enough to have Lex Jigaroff, the director and co actor in that. And as you know, Lex Jigaroff was responsible for the hit sci-fi series Lex.
yeah, I had interviewed Brian Downey from Hobo with the
Oh yeah,
Shotgun.
I
Yeah,
love Brian. He's awesome. Hobo with a Shotgun was a great film too. All of the Bloodshed alumni got to go, and we all got to be extras in the film because we had a connection there with Jason Shipley, who was my co-producer, director, and co-writer for Bloodshed. Without Jason, their project would certainly not have turned into what it was. So it was very interesting. The process for that whole film um, was very unique, and I don't think it could ever be replicated.
yeah. No, I had Brian Downey on last year, and he was great to talk to. He, of course, was the Drac, or the Drax.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
he was a very nice man too. I had the opportunity to meet him. Um, I find a lot of people that are involved in um, alternative films or horror. I hate to use that word because it's the genre has changed so much, and there's so many branches now. When I was coming up, it was pretty straightforward. You knew what the horror was, and there weren't boundaries, but there was kind of a little sandbox that you got to play in. Now it seems like all bets are off. I don't know how I feel about that. I think a lot of the storytelling has gone out of a lot of the modern horror films. It's
Hmm.
more about like the visceral reaction. And a great example of that would be Alfred Hitchcock. Every one of his movies, if he wanted to scare you, he would scare the pants off of you just with a heightened musical note or a foreboding shadow or something coming. Oh, what's behind the door? Oh my God, what's going to happen? And the build up and the build up. And then when the action happened, they didn't show the visceral part. Like in Psycho, you see the knife coming, but you never see her getting stabbed. But tell me that that's not one of the most horrific scenes ever, right?
Actually, I've had Janet Leigh's body double, Marley Renfro Peterson, on here, who was her body double in the shower scene in Psycho. And I had Hitchcock's granddaughter on here
Oh,
back in
nice.
2016. Yeah.
That's what I
So,
grew up on, eh? Those were,
oh, I love
excuse me,
those.
those were
Hmm.
big influences on me. Alfred Hitchcock and Roger Corman, and especially I really enjoy anything by John Carpenter as well. Uh, I remember when I was younger, we had HBO. Everybody had it for about 6 months for free, and I think they played four movies on that.
Uh-huh.
And those movies were Escape from New York,
Love it.
Flash Gordon, Gregory's Girl, and what was the other one? It was some other obscure film. Hang on, let me just take a look here. I think I wrote it down. Oh, uh, The Road Warrior with Mel Gibson. That was the
Oh,
big one for me.
I've
That was that.
interviewed Vernon Wells from the Road Warrior twice, and um I met him at Horrorama. What a cool guy.
Yeah, that one. Oh man, I'll tell you what. Uh, that opening scene in The Road Warrior, and I don't mean the first one. I mean the second one after the prequel, because as you know, they released the second one first here, and then when that did well, they released Mad Max. But that movie showed me that you could do a lot on a small budget, and that was when I started really looking into those kind of directors like Corman and Carpenter. When you look at their movies, even today, they seldom use digital effects. If there are effects, they're all practical effects. It's real blood squirting. It's a real explosion, and it's a real stuntman on a little springboard. When the explosion goes off, he springs out and bang against the wall, and that's what I love. It's practical. It's real, and I always enjoy watching Kurt Russell and Bruce Campbell is probably one of the actors that I've modeled most my own acting on. Uh, and I mean, in Escape from uh, the last Escape movie, Escape from L.A., Bruce Campbell and Kurt Russell were both in the same film. Bruce Campbell played the plastic surgeon when Snake was caught up and they wanted his eye. Uh,
Yeah, wasn't a big fan of Escape from LA, but I
no, me
love
neither.
Escape from New York. Yeah.
No, that I could have more or less taken it. It it was fun to watch the first time, but I could watch Escape from New York over and over again. That as well as the Warriors.
You know what? I'm still in touch with Apache Ramos from the Warriors.
Oh yeah, wow.
Yeah, he was of course one of the orphans. I've
I
had him
really,
on.
I really, I really enjoyed those films, and the way they shot them. The shots were always long shots.
Hmm.
It reminds me a lot of early Dino De Laurentiis movies.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember Conan the Barbarian? That
Yeah,
that
I've got it
that
here on Blu-ray. I've
yeah,
interviewed Sven Ole Thorson, the guy with the big hammer.
yeah, he was great. If you
Yep.
look at that film, a lot of those shots are long and they last a long time. Like where he's walking along the top of that desert dune, and it just keeps going on and on. But it works really well. And I think today, when people are making all types of movies, they're scared of that long shot. It's all got to be clickety clickety click. But that's also why short films went from a half an hour to 15 minutes to 8 minutes to 5 minutes. Now a short film, if it's longer than 2.5 or 3 minutes, it's too long.
The attention span today of people, I don't know. Like I've had somebody tell me, "Oh, I should cut my interviews down in segments," and I'm like, "No, no, I'm not catering to these people who can't sit still.
Yeah,
Yep. I said if they're gonna listen, they'll listen. I'm not catering to the issues of today's society. I got people that listen to these in their car, if they're going to and from work or
absolutely.
whatnot. Yep. So absolutely. But yeah, you mentioned a lot of films there that I've had people on the show from as well. Escape from New York. I had a few people, including Adrienne Barbeau, which was a
Oh,
blast.
nice. Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, you can't talk about horror films without talking about George Romero, right?
Had his widow on. I met his widow at Horrorama, and I never met him, but his widow was nice, and she come on and tribute to him because she lives in Toronto,
Oh, nice.
which is where he lived uh, when he passed. So, but I did have Judith O'Dea on from Night of the Living Dead, who played Barbara.
Hmm. You
Yeah.
know, Greg, when we did Bloodshed, there's a little tidbit of trivia that most people don't know. We had a lot of the crew from Trailer Park Boys that came down and crewed up for that shoot.
I've been trying to get somebody from the Trailer Park Boys on the show. I
Well, it
did.
wasn't the actors who came, Greg. I just want to be clear on that. It was part of the
Uh-huh.
crew. But I'll tell you what, having those guys around was a wonderful opportunity for me to get some younger filmmakers involved and get an opportunity to be mentored under these people who are um, making their livings doing film. And I mean, anybody who's making films and is able to actually eat and make films, they must be doing something right.
Yeah. I love the Trailer Park Boys. I did have Howard Jerome on, who was in SwearNet, the movie.
Yes,
Yep.
very nice.
I had him on, and that was a blast. He's he'll be 82 this year, but it was a blast talking to him about that film. I
Yeah, I
swear that
bet.
the movie has had apparently 935 uses of the F word.
For sure.
Yeah, like
I got a
take
chance. Go ahead, Greg.
yeah.
Nope. I was just saying, talking about Trailer Park Boys, I had an opportunity to do a little bit of work with Lee McGuinness. He played Glenn and Glenda on the series, the park manager by day, transvestite hooker by night, and he's a great guy.
Yep. Oh yeah, Pat Roach. Wow. Did he put a shirt on, or did he just wear it off when he was around you?
Oh, he had his clothes on, and I insisted.
We got to talk about when you and I first met, because there's a story behind that. I remember Paul Angier was to direct a short film called Ask Ugg, which was one of the brainchilds of Dennis Poirier, who you worked with, of course, on Bloodshed. And they
Yeah,
were
I
shooting. I
worked with
remember they
Dennis on a
were,
few projects.
yeah, and I remember they were shooting it at CHSR, which I'm still affiliated with, and they needed somebody to be a DJ for just a split second. And I was like, okay. And Paul wanted to know if I would do that, and I said, sure. And I don't know who said it now, but when I heard some of the people that were going to be on that film, I don't know who said it, but somebody had said, "Oh, you're going to butt heads with Pierre." And I said, "Why?" And he said, it wasn't even negative about you. Um, I can't remember how to word it, but nonetheless, I went to the shoot. And I sat in the chair and I waited for my cue. And I remember when you came in, I just kind of watched you because when somebody says I'm going to butt heads with somebody, I want to watch them and see if there's a way to make their um, process easier so we don't have to butt heads.
Sure.
And and I remember I was quite impressed.
There's usually no problems as long as everybody does everything that I tell them to do.
Well, you know what? You came in And I know you weren't the director, but I could have sworn you were, because you went in there and you knew exactly what you wanted. You knew who you wanted, where, and what they were to do, and you seemed to know what you were doing. And I just kind of sat back. I was like, okay, I like how this guy works. And I remember you told me, you brought me, I think it was a porno magazine that I'm supposed to have on there for a brief second there when I do my cue thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's exactly what it was.
yeah, and I just remember after the shoot thinking, you and I hit it off, and we've hit it off ever since.
You
So,
know what? Anybody who says that I'm hard to work with, it's people that don't work. Uh, when we're doing a lot of these films, there's low budget to no budget.
yeah.
And if you want to come and play, that's awesome. But I'd like to be able to have a product at the end that we can all take a step back and look at and be proud of. And I mean, uh, most of the time, there's no problems. My key people know me well enough
Hmm.
that if I get out of hand, they can pull me back and say, "Hey, slow down." And I can recognize, all right, if you're telling me this, I get it, and I can slow down. But you need to earn that, right? If you're new and I'm new, uh, we certainly learn how we have to learn how we work and how the process happens too, right? I mean,
Hmm.
everybody has a different process, and as you know, in this kind of an industry, there's a lot of sometimes there's egos, and I've been guilty of having a big ego myself for no reason, but that can cause clashes too. I mean,
Hmm.
Greg, if you're an artist and you don't have clashes with other artists, sometimes I don't think that there's a creative process happening. You know what I mean? There has to be conflict to be resolution.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how I find it's like that in when you make movies as well, right?
Hmm.
It's pretty basic. I mean, the biggest compliment I ever got was from the president of CBC who saw one of my short films, and he walked up to me and he said, "I loved your movie. It had a beginning, a middle, and an end." And then he walked off. That was awesome. I was dumbfounded, but he made a good point. I mean, a lot of short films now, especially, people try to tell a story in 3 or 4 minutes, and man, it's you have to have skill to do that. And the first time around, it might not happen.
Well, I remember, I don't know what happened with Ask Ugg. Did Paul Angier ever get that completed?
No, no, but you know what? There's that's how projects go, Greg. You know that. You work on a project and then pre-production happens.
Hmm.
Post-production starts and everyone's excited. You're planning and you're writing, meetings, and then production starts, and that's great too because you're shooting and you're creating. That's awesome. Well, what filmmakers forget is there's a post-production part. That's where the real, as far as I'm concerned, that's where the real hard work starts. Post-production. You're doing Foley, you're doing sound, you're doing a video edit, and I find all those processes very, very tedious. And I'm not the only one. So a lot of films go through the pre-production stage, the production stage, and then they stall during post because nobody's got the gumption to be able to follow through. Because it's hard to do that. It takes time. It takes more than one cut. It's like when you write. A lot of young people that are starting to write for film, they don't seem to understand that rewrites are important. Rewriting something 10, 20, 30, 50 times is not a waste of time. Every time you do a rewrite, it gets better and better. But you need
Hmm.
to have the patience to be able to do that. And there's no patience now.
No.
Everybody goes, everybody hits the ground running. Anybody with a camera is a filmmaker, and anybody who writes a short script is a writer. So it's getting kind of convoluted, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Bloodshed, I remember seeing that at the Silverway Film Festival, at a midnight screening. And I guess say I was very impressed with it. Very well done.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, I love the tagline to it. Just a sec, I'm gonna bring that up.
Contains coarse language, mild nudity, and fishing. Swear, yeah, foul language and fishing, or something like that. Eh?
Just I'll bring it right up here. This film contains scenes of nudity, profanity, graphic violence, drug use, mutilation, and fishing. I love that. Who came up with that?
Jason Shipley did that for sure. That's
Yeah,
his
I thought
baby.
that was great.
Jason brought a lot to the film. He brought a dimension to the project that I couldn't have done by myself. Um, when we did the movie, I mean, it's been over 10 years now. I think we're pushing like 12 years since we did that.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Grindhouse films were really having a resurgence. Filmmakers like Robert Rodriguez
Yep.
were doing films like Death Proof and um, Planet Terror
Mm-hmm.
and Machete, movies of that nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those were definitely an inspiration. And after we did Bloodshed, uh, Jason Shipley went on to become the first assistant director for Hobo with a Shotgun. And as I mentioned earlier, the all the Bloodshed alumni, we were invited to go down, and we kind of played a gang in the film. We were extras, and we uh, we were treated very well on the set. Uh, very respectful. The whole set was super professional. Rutger Hauer is one of my heroes, and I had the opportunity to like be in a scene where he was, I was standing up on a rampart looking down at him, but still, when you see the movie, you can see me, you can see him. And I usually don't care about that stuff because I've been around for a while, Greg. You know what I mean? And I really the Hobo with a Shotgun experience was unique because Jason Eisner, who directed that, he understands low budget, and they shot that film on a wing and a prayer, and it came out great. One of my favorite movies.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Um,
But Bloodshed wouldn't have morphed into what it is without Jason, because originally the script was basically Weekend at Bernie's, but in the woods. Yeah, I
well,
don't know. That's one of my favorites.
I was quite impressed with it when I saw it, and you worked with Dennis Poirier, who I haven't seen Dennis, and like I haven't done stuff with the film co-op for years. I'm um,
COVID's put the kibosh on that.
well, even still, I just kind of lost connection. I know I had Kathy LeBlanc on last year, and I've had Rob Pinnock on here a couple times, and there's others I've had on here, and it's always nice to have them. Um, Once I got on to doing the conventions and stuff like that, I kind of lost touch. Like Colin Smart is my best friend, and yet I might have seen him twice last year, if that,
Mm.
and one of the things I love about Colin is that he gets it, and anytime if I pick the phone up and call him, he's there. He's not judging me, or we used to hang
Absolutely.
out.
Nope.
Yeah, I love that about
Yeah, he's good
Colin.
people. I know Colin. He's a good man.
Colin is great, and he and I used to hang out all the time. Now, if I saw him at Christmas time, I made a point to go up, but I haven't seen him since. I might have called him maybe twice since, and it's not his fault. My schedule is just so different, but I love the fact that it don't matter if I call him. It's like we're just picking things up. Love that about Colin. Special shout out because Colin's the one that told me, suggested I go to CHSR to begin with, which led, of course, eventually to me
I
doing the
remember when
podcast.
when you had a radio show for sure.
Oh, I still have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was supposed to do the live show tonight, but I had two interviews, and I'll be quite frank. I remember last time I was down there because I always stick my flash drive in there and play interviews, and last time I was down there, it was after I was done work, and I was in the entryway and I passed out. When I came through, it was like 15 minutes into the other show, and my interview was still playing. Oh, I was like, oh,
That's
because
great.
it's, oh, well, I felt bad for the whoever was supposed to be recorded after that, because technically I was going over their time. But
You know, Greg, I want to give a shout out to Miranda Wilkins. She was the actress in
oh
Bloodshed
yeah,
who,
I got her on Facebook and I'm gonna reach out to her because I remember her with that chainsaw.
yeah, and she got covered from head to toe in blood. She was a good sport.
Uh-huh.
Uh, she was a wonderful actress that we've used in the past. Miranda always delivers, and she's a good sport. And when you're doing horror films, you got to be a good sport because you're often covered in stuff that you don't want to be covered in. It's long hours. It's kind of thankless, but you definitely do have to have a passion for what you're doing.
I still get a picture of she and I from that silver wave, and
Yeah.
I've got her on Facebook. Um, I rarely speak to her, but I'm going to shortly because I got to invite her on and have a chat with her about this, because that was when I met her,
Hmm.
and
Miranda's always been around. She's been keeping busy.
yeah,
She's reliable, that's for sure. I like to use her as much as I can, but it's you don't want to overuse an actress either, right? Or an actor, unless you're starting a franchise, and I don't think any of us are there right yet.
I don't know. She was great in Bloodshed, I gotta say. Like
She
she
was great in
handled.
Bloodshed, and she did another film that we were involved in called The Cleanup, where she played the mother of a hitman, and she played that part to a T.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. That one went to Silver Wave as well. You may have seen it.
No, I didn't see that, but Miranda is great. And of course, I remember Jessica Holt was involved with this, and she probably won't like this, but because she knows I had a big crush on her back then. But
Uh-oh.
yeah, of
I know
course,
that when we were working on Bloodshed, everybody pulled their weight. We had long hours, and everybody slept on site. Nobody went
mm-hmm,
home. And what a lot of people don't know about Bloodshed is that we had to do some reshoots a year later.
uh-huh,
And although my co-producer will disagree, uh, I challenge anybody to look at Bloodshed and pick the scenes that we shot a year apart. And what was interesting was we shot, we did the reshoot with a different crew, and the only crew that was the same was Jason came down because he was the director, and remember I had mentioned earlier that a lot of the people from the Trailer Park Boys they were
yep,
mentoring, while all the people that they mentored were doing the reshoot. So it was interesting because we went from doing the shoot as a big budget production with trucks and a lot of equipment and catering and things to how we usually make films uh, here. Everybody shows up. There's a pot of stew on the stove,
mm-hmm,
sandwiches. There's a case of beer in the fridge, and we just work all day.
okay, yeah,
Because
but
we can't afford to pay anybody much. That's for sure. I mean, whenever you get money, you try to pay. Whenever you can, but you
yep,
you tend to work on deferral. That's one of the secrets of working in this kind of thing.
yep, no, no, I remember I liked Jessica, and she didn't like me, so I'm like, oh well,
That's
can't
how it
please
goes, for
everybody.
sure.
Can't
No, for
please,
sure.
huh?
Do you remember um, there was a radio station out of Bangor, Maine. It was WLBZ TV. They
Uh,
had
yeah.
a show on every Saturday night called Shock Theater. And
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about.
they played classic horror films, stuff like The Mummy and anything with Boris Karloff or Bela Lugosi, right
Oh,
up
I've
to
had Bela Lugosi Jr. and I had Sarah Karloff on here.
oh nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
No,
know what you're talking about there. Yeah,
the scariest movie I ever saw was on there. It was called Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things.
yeah,
That movie scared the pants out of me.
yeah. Bob
And
Clark.
that film made me realize how scary you can make things without having to go big budget again. I mean, I'm a huge fan of low budget film. Uh, Low budget films usually have a lot of heart,
Mm-hmm.
as that's kind of what you're making the whole thing on. Don't
Mm-hmm.
get me wrong, I enjoy a budget when it's available,
Mm-hmm.
but when you're a filmmaker, sometimes if you wait for a budget, sometimes you can wait for a long time.
Yeah,
Sometimes you just have to start the project and everything else just falls into place. Sometimes.
yeah, absolutely. Oh, I remember they used to have them on when I was young. 'Cause you and I would be roughly the same age. Um, they used to have horror films on every Friday night.
Yeah.
Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things was one. Salem's Lot was one.
Oh yeah. All those
Horror
classic. Anything
High.
Stephen King or high. If anything from Stephen King or a lot of Italian horror, which is
I've been,
interesting.
yeah, I've I love Italian horror,
Yeah, I
especially
like Dario Argento. Yeah, I'm
Dario
a fan too.
Argento. I've had four people on from Suspiria. In
Oh yeah,
fact,
that's classic.
I had Daria Nicolodi on the February before she passed away.
Oh wow.
I was so well. Here's the story behind that. Um, I reached out to her in 2016, and she declined me an interview because she said she was getting so tired of talking about the 7 Argento movies that she had done, and of course they weren't together anymore. And anyway, she declined me an interview because I loved her in Deep Red. Loved her in Deep Red. That to me was the best work she did for Argento was Deep Red with her and David Hemmings. Um, what had happened? I reached out to her in 2019, which is the year she passed, and I reached out to her on Twitter, and she remembered who I was, and I remembered her words. She said, "This interview will probably not happen." But I had an idea because I was at Horrorama the year before, and the guest of honor was Lamberto Bava, and Lamberto had her in a film, but Lamberto is, of course, the son of Mario Bava, and Daria was in his last movie. So I brought that up to her when I tweeted back and forth with her, and she responded, and it's interesting because she said that she loved Mario Bava. So she said that she would do the interview in two conditions. One, she wanted to express her absolute love for Mario Bava. And two, she wanted to express her love for her daughter, Asia Argento, as well as her career. And I never brought Asia up. And I said, absolutely. I had her on. We did talk some Argento because it was the anniversary Actually, no, it was 2020, not 2019. 2020, I had her on. It was February 2020 because she passed away that fall. But we did celebrate the anniversary of Deep Red because I had some stuff to ask her. She was involved in the writing and whatnot for Suspiria. Asked her about that, and I asked her about working with a young Jennifer Connelly in Phenomena. But other than that, I kept the Argento stuff as brief as I could, and we talked about the Babas and Asia Argento, and by the end of it, she was like, she was very apologetic for being hard on me before, but she said that I made this very easy on her.
Good.
Yeah, I felt bad when she passed away, but like with Dick Miller, I was so glad to get them while I did. I had Dick Miller on 5 months before he passed, and I was so glad to get him when I did. So those were blessings, but nonetheless, with Bloodshed, of course, getting back to that, you worked really well with Dennis Poirier. I have not seen him in years. Is he still in
I
Moncton? Is still prowling
um
around?
I believe he's still in the province. Dennis is a wonderful character actor. He played uh, he played the lead character's younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, the story centers around two French brothers who are on their family homestead, and one of the brothers is living there, and the other brother is off living a dubious lifestyle, and he has to come home because he's on the lam. And after he arrives, conflict ensues and carnage as well, with chainsaws and shotguns and butcher knives and 2x4s with nails sticking out of them, all kinds of devices to inflict pain and misery. But we did enjoy the process. Working with Jason Shipley was probably one of the best acting experiences of my life. Uh, right up there with Lex directing me. Both Jason Shipley and Lex Jigaroff, when they direct, they know what they want
Mm-hmm.
and they expect to get what they want. And I like that. I like a director who's not scared to grab the whole project by the balls and really go with it. I'm the type of actor, sometimes I go a little method and I need to be held back. And it takes a special kind of director to be able to do that, as you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah.
And Jason has that ability. Jason has the innate skill and ability to work with somebody who's never acted before and to be able to work with somebody who has 30 or 40 or 50 years in the business. He can adapt to any situation at any time. If I was ever making a film and I needed somebody to really ensure that the project runs smoothly and on
Mm-hmm.
time and budget, Jason would definitely be my man. And he's one of my best friends. He was the best man at my wedding. I love him to death. And he's busy working all the time. He's one of the most sought after um, first assistant directors in the country right now. And
Uh,
he's got some big things lined up.
I gotta reach out and get him on here. But nonetheless,
If you can catch him in the province or in the country, sure. He's a he's a he's a working filmmaker. That boy.
yeah, yeah. Um, Bloodshed struck me as a cross between Psycho and Evil Dead, especially
Ah,
when the psychedelic stuff was going on. I love the fact that when it come to the mother material,
yeah.
you had like a kind of like a Muppet come
We
in
did.
there.
It's funny you say that it's a Muppet because the person who designed it, uh, his father had done work designing Muppets
Yeah.
in Halifax, based in Halifax.
Mm-hmm.
So We were very lucky, and that was all Jason too. I'll never forget that phone call. He calls me up, and and by this time we had been discussing a lot and bouncing ideas off of each other, and we would tell each other off if it was a stupid idea. And here's how the phone call went. I pick up the phone, and Jason says, "Before you say anything, you have to let me finish talking." I said, "Okay." He goes, "A giant puppet." I said, "I'm listening." And then he proposed that the lead character was going to be having hallucinations similar to Psycho,
Uh-huh.
but the mother was going to manifest as this puppet. So we had the puppet made. The puppet was about, man, must have been at least 4 or 5 feet tall. And we had two puppeteers running the puppet. And when you watch the movie, you can see that Mama is a very, very big and important part of the whole experience. And that was all Jason. Jason really believed in that. I wasn't sure, but at this point,
Loved
I
it.
was along for the ride. Yeah,
Yeah, I loved it. I remember on Facebook, when this came out, I remember there was a picture of Jessica Holt was lugging that thing, and I was like, "What? What is that?" You know?
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
She definitely gained a life of her own before the production was done. That's for sure.
Now, who has Mama now? You or Dennis or
Jason.
huh?
Jason has that.
Jason?
Jason has her in a box somewhere. I think he shoved her under his bed.
His
Yeah,
version of a real doll?
no, he has I think it's more of his version of a cadaver under the bed. But we were lucky. We released Bloodshed worldwide release, and we were lucky enough to win several indie awards. And one of them that we were really proud of was the Golden Chainsaw Award
Yep.
that we got
Fangoria.
from yeah, and we really were proud of that. And it was from a festival in I believe it was Croatia or somewhere in the Baltics. And we found out that uh, those provinces in uh, Eastern European and European countries love bloodshed. They really, really got the concept and they got behind it. And if you watch the film, there are some French elements to it. The brothers in the film, the main characters, their background is that they're French. So during the film, they go into French speaking modes, but it's an old style traditional French that Dennis and I were brought up speaking that's almost a dead language now. And Europeans really connected onto that, which I was really happy about because I was hoping that would happen. North American audiences didn't really connect it that way, but the Europeans really got Bloodshed. They really enjoyed it. We won awards for writing for Bloodshed, and that blew me away because that kind of a genre, as you know, doesn't get a lot of credibility, but it
Nope.
should, and
Yep.
especially for writing. You know that script. Jason and I worked on that script for a long time, and we were lucky enough that we were able to work on the script, a lot of it on location at the actual site where we shot the film, because there was a cottage there that was operational. So we sequestered ourselves there and we wrote the script. Jason wrote the main body and a lot of the horror bits. I was kind of chiming in, and we worked really well together. It was uh, it was a very interesting experience. Some of it was very high, some of it was very low, but I wouldn't trade any of it for the world. And I
Oh,
love Jason Shipley like a brother. I would follow that man to hell and back.
or hopefully to heaven and back.
Ah,
A
for
lot
sure.
less
Whatever,
painful.
whatever he picks, I'll go. We work
Well,
really well together, and as I said, we're friends. He knows me well enough to tell me to shut up when I have a big mouth, and that's important because you know sometimes I get very passionate, and sometimes my passion overruns my common sense. But that's that's art, right? You get passionate, you get single-minded, very tunnel vision focused. That's
hmm
why I like to surround myself. When I make a film, I can't do everything. So I surround myself with people that know what they're doing so that I don't have to worry about it. I think that's one of the biggest secrets. And that's one thing I learned from Bruce Campbell from his book. Uh, he said, he has such a wonderful way of expressing himself. He's like, I don't know anything. He says, I just surround myself with people that know what you're doing and it makes me look great. That's a really good way of looking at it, though, because that's what
yeah.
a wise producer and a wise director will recognize that you're only as good as your crew. So you surround yourself with as the best people that you can, and you go from there. Treat them good, treat them with respect. Don't yell at them too much. Usually
Yeah.
things fall into place. But sometimes they don't. I mean, even the best laid plans of mice and men fall apart, right? Uh, you start pre-production and then something happens, you get pushed, the actors don't make it, projects get tossed on the wayside. That happens all the time in Hollywood.
So would you say that in Bloodshed, Miranda Wilkins was your Bruce Campbell, so to speak?
No, I was Bruce Campbell.
Oh,
What was funny is Jason pulled me aside and he said, I want you to be a composite of Bruce Campbell and Snake Plissken.
okay.
So he started calling me Bruce Pliskin. So whenever we would do a scene, if I was having a hard time getting back into character,
Mhm.
Jason would come up to me and we do the tete-a-tete and he'd be like, come on, man, you got this. Bruce Pliskin, come on, you're Bruce Pliskin, we got this. And of course, when that happens, you kind of, and it really sums up the moment, right? It's all the over the top horror, almost slapsticky, but not quite. But at the same time, there's a really dark side to the lead character in Bloodshed. For the first few minutes, it's kind of funny a little bit and a little clumsy, but then it takes a left turn and it's not funny anymore.
Yep.
And that's what we wanted to do. I we were lucky enough to have a special effects wizard named Gary Ferguson. Gary's worked on a million projects. He's worked with everybody from feature film moguls to Cirque du Soleil to the Smithsonian Institute. He's done a lot of good work. He's very skilled at his trade. And when Jason came down, he brought his assistant director Preston, and Preston's a machine. I don't know if you've ever met Preston, but he uh, Preston's a tank, man. When Preston starts moving stuff around, it goes. People listen, and that's what you need. You need good people that are reliable and that can get the job done when push comes to shove. I think that's a problem right now with films, Greg, is that there's a lot of sissies. There's a lot
Yeah.
of there's a lot of pussies. Yeah, everybody's all please and thank you and watch your feelings. And you know what? Sometimes there's no time for please and thank you. Sometimes there's just time to shoot. And then when you're done shooting, then you do the please and thank yous and you can pat everyone on the back, but you don't get a pat on the back every single time. There's no time for that. It's not a love-in. It's a friggin' film shoot.
Well,
Now that's the old school way that I was taught, Greg.
hmm
When I was taught, it was sink or swim. You learn on a movie set. You get hazed. You get told to do a bunch of stuff for nothing. And if you take it, then you earn respect. And the next shoot, you go up the ladder, and someone else has to pay their dues on the bottom. I believe it's that's an important rite of passage. You have to start on the bottom and work your way up. You
Yep.
start sweeping the floors, and then you
Mm-hmm.
work your way up to doing lighting and running cable and whatever else. Uh, I find what happens, Greg, people go from zero to directing without understanding the process. And if you don't understand the process, how can you be effective as a filmmaker? But then I'm reminded with technology, you don't have to be a genius to do all that stuff. And that's kind of exciting at the same time because it means that a young filmmaker can make a movie now with a cell phone that's as good as movies that me and you used to do on very, very expensive cameras.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's well within the reach. That's what I'm getting into now, Greg. I'm looking into exploring making movies with cell phones. There are film festivals where you only submit cell phones,
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen amazing movies made with cell phones.
Yeah. I agree. I agree.
It's a brave new world. Everybody's a filmmaker now. That's kind of the downside, but there is some good work coming out.
Well, you followed up Bloodshed with a film. Speaking of Lex Jigroff, he directed Benoit.
Yes, that was a very interesting film to work
Yeah,
on.
I haven't seen it, but
I'll have to get you a copy. That was the most challenging film I've ever had to do in my entire life, and I've worked a lot of projects. Lex wrote that script, and he challenged me.
uh-huh.
I've never been challenged so much as I have working on that movie with Lex Jigroff. Um, I wasn't taking it seriously for the first few weeks. And me and Lex were walking. I'll never forget this. We were in the parking lot at the hospital. We were scouting, and I was walking down the sidewalk, and he was saying, asking me if I knew my lines, and I said yes, and I just kind of blew him off, and he stopped, and he grabbed me, and he spun me around, and he looked me right in the face, and he said, Pierre, you better be fucking taking this seriously. He said, don't you fuck up my movie. And he was serious. And he said, tomorrow morning, I want you at my house at 5 a.m. and
Mm-hmm.
we're going to go over the lines. And I said, yes, of course. And I realized it was a test. It wasn't to see if I knew the lines. He wanted to see if I was serious enough to meet him at 5 o'clock and do the lines,
Okay.
which I did. And it went very well. But Lex is a brilliant writer. Lex has written for a lot of shows all over. He's brilliant. He was brilliant. God rest his soul.
Mm.
And he would write me dialogues of monologues. Like my character would have to do like that much dialogue per pop, and there wasn't any interaction with me and anyone else. So it was all internal dialogue, basically. So there was a lot of dialogue, and
Of course,
it
you went on.
was. Go ahead.
I was gonna say you went on to do The Night, and I had Jackie Giroux on here last year, and
Yeah, that was a feature. That was a feature film that they shot here in Fredericton.
yeah, yeah,
I have a funny story about that, actually, Greg. Me and Lex were asked to audition for that movie,
mm-hmm,
but we already knew we had the parts. We were just going through the motion.
yeah,
What was funny is when we went to the cattle call, we were sitting in a room and there was about 7 or 8 other men there, varying ages, and
mm-hmm,
Lex wanted to do an improv to warm us up. So we started talking about fixing his car and how he got ripped off because he needed a motor job. And we went on for 5 minutes. And when we were done, Lex says, yeah, that was perfect. Okay, perfect. And two of the guys looked at us. They said, were you guys just improvising that? We're like, yeah. They both looked at me and Lex. They got up and they left.
oh wow,
Well, and the other guys that stayed, they were sweating. Oh no, Lex was brilliant, and he had a way of bringing out brilliance in other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really did. I think, if I remember correctly, Jackie was in town earlier. She did another feature film with
Yep.
Corey Haim before he passed away.
Oh yeah. American Sunset.
Yeah, that was Corey Haim, right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, that was his last movie was here in Fredericton as well.
Yep. I remember. I didn't meet him, but I mean, I met Angela Collins, but I just I remember when that played here. So I liked American Sunset. So you know, and Jackie Giroux is a real hoot to have on the show. I
Did you
had her
interview her?
I had her on last year for the anniversary of Drive-In Massacre.
Oh, right on. Yeah, Jackie's very she's a character, that's for sure. She's Hollywood, that's for sure.
Yep, yep,
Did you know that she was in Ilsa, She Wolf of the SS?
yep.
Uncredited? Yeah.
Oh yeah, we talked about that.
She won't admit that to just anybody.
Well, she admitted that to me. We
Yeah.
did talk about it.
We found that out when we were shooting the first project we did with her, and everybody was like, "Is it her? Is it her?" I'm like, "I'm gonna ask." And there's no shame in that woman. She's like, "Yes, that was me for sure." But
Yeah,
again, Jackie is a good example of that classic producer, coming in, low budget, is everything above the board? Maybe, maybe not. It's, you got to dally around fences sometimes there, as Jack Nicholson said in Mars Attacks, you got to learn to dally around fences. And Jackie was certainly good at that.
yeah. And of course, you were in Anonymous Zombie.
Oh, that was wonderful. Uh, Richard directed that, and he's a wonderful filmmaker too. I really enjoy working with him. I got lucky enough to play one of the main zombies in that film. I'm patient zero. I was the first zombie, and we filmed a lot of that in the winter. And I had no shirt on for most of that film, and I was freezing.
What were you
And
trying to do? A Pat Roach?
it's just I wasn't happy about the whole thing, and I was really pissed off. And I said, Richard, why do the other zombies have clothes and I got no shirt? I said, I'm freezing. What's the point of this? He said, well, it's simple. He said, you were patient zero, so you were attacking everybody first, and they were fighting back, and they ripped off your shirt. How can I argue with that?
No, you can't.
So I looked him in the face. I told him to fuck off. I turned around and I got back to my position, and we reset.
Yeah.
No, Richard McQueen directed that, and he's a filmmaker after my own heart. Low budget but practical. He can make a movie with $100 and a bag of chips, and a case of Avion. I mean, it takes skill, it takes ability and resourcefulness to be able to make a feature film on a low to no budget. And Richard has done it more than once.
And of course, I see you have one called Beacon on here. And of course, I remember when
Oh, Beacon.
Michel Guitar started. He was like showing up at Silverwave with his mom and whatnot. And boy, he's come a long way.
10 years old. He started making films when he was 10.
There you
I met him when
go.
he was 13 years old. And now he's a grown man, and he's doing film work for the government.
Yeah, he like um I haven't seen him in a while, but I just remember it's like this guy went in and he just took it all in, and
Oh no, he's
he's
brilliant.
going places.
He's been my director of photography since the beginning. I've never worked on a film without Michel Guittard, and if I can help it, I never will. He's he brings so much to the table technically. He understands the technology like no one I've ever met before. He really gets it. And if he doesn't get it, he knows the people to call to make things happen. And he's a pleasure to work with. And he understands extreme situations. We did a film called The Cleanup, where the crew was basically just me and him.
Mm-hmm.
And he was sick. He had the flu, and we were on site. We shot all day. That evening, we all slept. We had accommodations. The next morning, Michelle was sick as a dog. Michelle was sick
Piddles.
as a he was sick as a dog, and in between shots, he was throwing up, and he was still getting. We were still getting what we needed. I mean, that's determination there, boy, and commitment.
Yeah. Is this what they did with you on set to calm you down?
No, no, it's usually Thorazine and morphine, but
I'm no actor and I know that, but I've been in a few well, I got involved with some films on Indiegogo with connected with some of my guests. One was 13 Fanboy, which was about a crazed fan going after alumni from the Friday the 13th franchise.
right.
So I'm a co-producer on that. So my name is at the beginning of the movie and at the end, and my picture is in the movie, and there's a shot of it covered in blood.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's my profile picture on Facebook too, and Debbie Sue Voorhees from Friday the 13th Part 5 is the director of that, and she wrangled in Corey Feldman and Kane Hodder and C.J. Graham and a lot of the alumni. And so I got involved with that film. I wasn't down in New Mexico where it shot. Oh yeah, they got Dee Wallace in it as well. I've had on a couple of times, and so I wasn't on set for that, but that was the first film I put my name on, and made a pretty extensive. I probably won't do it again. I think I spent 3K on that movie. I probably won't do that again, but I'm glad to have my name on that. And James Balsamo, I cameo in right now currently 9 of his films.
Oh, nice.
And it doesn't matter how bad my performance is because James acts in his own movie and you can tell he's not an actor either. But he knows that. He's not out to make art, he's out to have fun. What James does, he goes to all the cons and he'll talk celebrities into making cameos in his film and he'll just splice it in somewhere. But I remember I had him on because I interviewed a woman named Genevieve Rossi, and who was recommended to me, and I've had her on several times. And I just noticed she had James Balsamo as a director of a lot of her filmography. So I asked her about him, and then I reached out to him. At the time, I was the night staff cleaning at UNB, University of New Brunswick, and I was having my lunch at 4 in the morning, and suddenly I get this email from James Balsamo asking me if I'd shoot my own death scene for Cool as Hell 2. I stared at that for a long time, and I knew he was in California, so I called him. And I said, "You do realize I can't act a lick." But he enjoyed doing my show, and he just asked if I'd make a cameo. And I was like, how could I say no to that? So I watched the trailer, and there was, of course, he had Linnea Quigley in this, and who I've also had on here. And I watched her scene in the trailer, and I thought, okay, I know what I'm going to do. It's not going to require any budget on my part. It'll be something quick and easy that I can do. And another one. Let me see if I got it right here. I think I do. Um, let me see. Let me see. Is it right here? Is it? Maybe. Maybe. No, or maybe not. Let me see. Because I got one on blue. Actually, I'm going to show you a few things I was involved in. Here we go. This is Social Distance,
Okay.
shot entirely by Zoom during the pandemic
Oh, interesting.
and done beautifully.
Huh.
It's got Vernon Wells in it from The Road Warrior.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's about a pandemic. Somebody used they took the pandemic and used it as part of a scheme in this movie, and it's done well. And so I'm on as a
Sounds interesting.
co-producer. Huh?
Sounds interesting.
Yep, Social Distance, and It Wants Blood.
Yeah. Yes, sir. You
This
know
is
what? I think I saw that one on a streaming service just recently.
it's a James Balsamo film. I am a associate producer on it, but I appear in this movie twice. And you know how James Balsamo got me to agree to it? Because
How?
I just shot my scenes on my phone and sent it to him. He put it in the movie. He said my scenes were going to be watched on a television by Eric Roberts. I said, okay, you sold me. So I'm in scenes with Eric Roberts, and I haven't even met the guy.
Nice.
Yep,
Funny how technology is now that you can do that, eh?
yep,
It's a whole new world.
yep. So I'm in 9 James Balsamo movies, and I've seen 3 out of the 9. And he asked if I shoot footage for It Wants Blood 2, which I'm greatly considering because he's got Weird Al Yankovic in this with Eric Roberts. I'm like,
Oh, I
okay,
love Weird Al.
I love Weird Al. Yep, love Weird Al. So, but yeah, but 13 Fanboy I think was a big one that I was part of, and it's like I said, it's got a lot of the Friday the 13th alumni in it, and I met CJ Graham at Frightmare in the Falls last year, and I was wearing the T-shirt, and I said, "Technically, I'm your boss."
There you go.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's what producers do.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny because I'm involved in a zombie film called Z Dead End, which is I think in post production, and it's got a number of people in it, and 2 of the people involved in it are Felissa Rose from Sleepaway Camp and Dave Sheridan, who was Officer Doofy in Scary Movie. And I was in the lineup to meet Dave Sheridan, and I get up there and I told him about this, and he looks at me and he goes, "Technically, you're my boss." And he turns to Felissa at the next table over, and he goes, "Hey, this is our boss." And Felissa's like, "Hi."
Nice.
And I'll tell you, if you ever get a chance to meet Felissa Rose, who is Angela in Sleepaway Camp, take it, because I'll tell you, one of my best con experiences was meeting her. She gave didn't despite the pandemic, she gave everybody a big hug. She'd do
Oh,
one picture with you, and then she'd do a second picture with you with her doing the Angela face. But I remember getting an autograph from my brother who was taking care of my folks at the time, and I told her about that, and she offered to do a shout out to him on my phone, and I was like, "How cool!" She didn't even charge me for it.
Nice.
Yeah, so she's a hoot. Have you ever done the cons before?
No, I never have. I've always been interested, but never really followed through.
You know what? I've lived here my entire life. I'm going to be 50 in July. And I lived here my entire life, and I would get homesick just going to Moncton or St. John. I had no desire to leave here. And what had happened is I'd interviewed Lisa Langlois from the movie Class of 1984, who's become a dear friend of mine. Actually, she called me a couple mornings ago. You know, anyway, she had just moved back to Toronto from Los Angeles, and we got talking about travel, and she asked what was stopping me, and I went through all that, and then she said that she was doing Horrorama in Toronto, and she invited me to assist her at her table. I couldn't say no to that.
No way. Yeah.
And I fretted about it for the months leading up to it. And luckily for me, it was the last, because my dad had ALS, mom's got Parkinson's. And that first trip to Toronto, they drove me to the airport. So mom and dad get to see me off. They drove me so I could leave my car at their place, not pay the airport fee. So they saw me off. I'm the only one in my family who's been in a plane.
Yes, sir.
And I took Porter Airlines, and I took gravel and stuff, but it was like I didn't need it. It was like a bus in the sky.
That's all.
Yeah, I actually dug it.
Yeah,
And
I like to fly.
yeah, Porter was great. I enjoyed Porter Airlines. Um, but I remember landing in Toronto, and I landed in Billy Bishop Airport. I didn't take the ferry across. I took the tunnel. The first time I'd seen escalators since the mid 80s here in Fredericton. Because I remember the old Zellers downtown used to have them. And I was like,
It did.
yeah. And I got up to the surface and I called Lisa, and Lisa told me what to do. She told me get on the shuttle bus and it'll take me to Union Station and she'll meet me there. And I got on the shuttle bus and went to Union Station. And I remember that I called Lisa and I was like, I don't see you, you know. She was at the other end, you know, like on around the corner. But it was cool seeing her in person because I'd known Class of 1984 since the early to mid 80s, you know, like so she and I went and had uh well, I dropped my stuff off where I was supposed to drop it off, and then we went to dinner. And she asked me a lot about New Brunswick because she'd never been out this way. But all the time I was talking to her, in the back of my mind is like, I'm not homesick. Why am I not homesick? And I didn't want to go home.
That's
And I've
okay.
gone to Toronto every year since, except 2020.
Nice.
And I always hook up with Lisa. Actually, I saved my scene points from the movies when I go to Toronto because That's something Lisa and I do together, and I always make sure I connect with her on there because she gave me a lot of advice about improving my brand, like getting business cards done up with my podcast and stuff like that. And so Lisa's become a wonderful friend. And that I remember that first con, Horrorama. I had a blast. Speaking of Fangoria magazine, Chris Alexander is one of the promoters on it, and he used to write for Fangoria,
Mhm.
and now he does. Oh fuck, I can't remember the name of the magazine. It's right on the tip of my tongue too that he writes for, but I had a blast at that first con. I've gone every year since, and I did one Toronto Comic Con, and I did Frightmare in the Falls last year. And I didn't have any bad experiences. The fans at horror cons are the best. They're the
Yeah, I bet.
best. Well, I remember
Horror fans are very dedicated, and they're
mhm.
usually very nice.
Here's some stories I have is I was wearing a Clockwork Orange t-shirt, and this woman come up to me who was dressed as a demented clown, come up to me and she goes, "I love your shirt." And I said, "Thanks." And she rolled her sleeve up and it had the poster tattooed on her arm.
Nice.
And I just thought it was an interesting connection, you know? And I sat at Lisa's table with her and helped keep her table organized, took pictures of her with fans and whatnot. And her table is located right beside Leslie Donaldson, who I've had on here a couple times. And just adjacent to us was Vernon Wells from the Road Warrior. And
Nice.
if we had a quiet time, which wasn't much, I would just kind of shoot the shit with him, and he was pretty cool. I asked him, I said, "Where's your mohawk from Road Warrior?"
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, that's
That was
what
a
he was
long
saying
time
too.
ago.
Oh yeah, but he signed a picture of that for me, you know, and
Nice.
yeah, he was a cool guy to meet, and they had a lot of great people there. And another story I have is that the after party for it was at a strip bar,
Yes, sir.
and we went there, and because Carl Zitier, who did the music for Black Christmas, was going to be there with and Mink Stoll of Pink Flamingos was going to sing the Filthy Cabaret.
All
The
right.
Filthy Cabaret. And here's a story because this was so funny. They sang this Filthy Cabaret, and then afterwards, they had this drag queen get on stage, and the drag queen sang a song called Lollipop. You've heard that song, Lollipop.
Yeah. Yeah.
During the song, he pulled this thing out of his crotch area. It was just a stuffed toy, but it looked like the escape, the thing women use, you know, that's gets the blood on
A
it.
garter. Oh, a
Huh?
tampon.
Yeah. Pulled one of them out, and it was just a stuffed toy. The blood was stuffed, the fuzz, and he took that and went like this, waved it above his head, and it sailed across the room. And it came across, and it bounced off my shoulder and landed at my feet.
Nice.
I looked at it on the floor, and I looked up, and everybody was staring at me. So I was like, I bent down and picked it up by the string. And of course, it's just a stuffed toy, not the real thing, you
Of
know.
course.
But I still got it. I still got it. But I picked it up, and
Excuse me.
Lisa almost fell off her stool laughing. And even when we were taking the subway away from there, that when the party was after party was over, she still couldn't contain herself laughing at that. And I think it was Leslie Donaldson, who was in the movie Curtains, come by and she goes, "You're not in Fredericton anymore."
No, you got that right.
I had a blast, Pierre, and it was like I was living life really for the first time. And it was like I'm actually considering sometime in the future moving to Toronto if I can make it happen where I can sustain myself. But Lisa taught me about using the subways and this and that, and she taught me well. Oh, when I was there last year, there was a Halloween street party going on in one of the villages, and Church Street, I think it was. And boy, do they ever put on a party.
Yeah,
I went
absolutely.
I
Not
went
like
down.
here.
Yeah, I went down there with Lisa and one of her friends, and I shot some video of it and whatnot. And I was just in awe. And I was there with a cheap wig on from the dollar store because Lisa had a costume. She's like, "Do you want to get dressed?" I went to the dollar store and I grabbed this red hat with a red wig, and I just stuck it on my head. And I had my Ms. 45 T-shirt on, so I wore that. And I just remember during I was doing a little blog into my phone, and my phone dings, and it was Tony Basil sending me a text.
Nice.
Yeah, love Tony Basil. So this has been a real trip, and it hasn't totally sunk into me, but it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I could tell. It's always good to broaden your horizons. And Toronto's a film town.
Yep. Oh, I had fun there. Lisa and I went around to all the locations where Class of 1984 was shot. So
Oh, that's nice. You got a little tour.
yeah, we didn't go in the school, but we got our picture taken in front of it, which was cool. And went to some of the other locations for it as well. So that was fun. We didn't see the Black Christmas house yet. That's certainly on the list. But a lot of films shot there, and yeah, if you haven't done a convention, Pierre, I think you would love it.
Yeah, it's a bucket list thing. I'd like to check it out for sure.
Yep. But I'm going to do Horrorama this fall. It'll be the first time I've been there in 2 years. So I'm looking forward to that. And I plan to do Frightmare in the Falls. Frightmare in the Falls has already announced Danielle Harris will be there. So I'm like, okay, I'm open to meeting her.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, it's been a trip, and the way people have treated me, and you know, Lisa's not the only person from Toronto I connected with, and it is great. But if you're into collecting memorabilia and stuff like that, these cons, eh, they got some strange stuff there. When I say strange,
Yeah.
I don't mean that in a negative. It's just the stuff they have that you could pick up there. And I had a guy at one of the vendors tried to sell me I don't know how big it was, but it was Jason from Friday the 13th, the final chapter. And he offered to sell it to me for half the price since I had interviewed Ted White, who played Jason.
Right.
And I was like, I said, how am I going to get it home?
That's valid. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't going to go in my luggage. But I like I said, I had a blast. I look forward to going back, and so yeah, those are a lot of fun to do. I have a blast at it. I was reminded, like we used to have films shot here in
Yes.
Canada. You know, so many films. I mentioned Class of 1984, but movies like Curtains, movies like Terror Train, movies like Hobo with a Shotgun, movies like Meatballs, stuff like that.
Porkies.
Porky's, yes, yes, absolutely. now you don't get that kind of reputation, which annoys me. And when I went to Horrorama, it was fun to hang out with Lisa, but was also to me a rebellion on my part against the lack of progression with the film industry here. You know,
Yeah, we don't have a film industry here.
well, I remember when I had done, well, when it was pre-production on 13 Fanboy, I called up and I wanted to see if the film festival would be interested in playing 13 Fanboy. I was asked if I was acting in it, and I said, no, I'm not an actor. You can tell by my James Balsamo performances, I'm not an actor. But my lack of skill kind of matches the tone of those. So you weren't going to see me act in 13 Fanboy, you know, but I said, he asked me, said, are you acting? I said, no. And they weren't interested, and it really pissed me off. Because it's like, I just brought a New Brunswick connection to the Friday the 13th franchise.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's like they didn't give a shit. And it annoyed the hell out of me.
That's showbiz.
Yep. But I just brought a New Brunswick connection to Friday the 13th. And not just Friday the 13th, but a lot of the alumni were in the movie. That's not bad. Dee Wallace did a film here with Doug Sutherland. And she's in 13 Fanboy. Sure, she's not a Friday the 13th alumni, but Debbie Sue just really wanted to work with her, which I can't blame her. She's a delight to me. I met her at one of the Horror-ramas, but yeah, I think you would be right at home being at a con. And but I wish that the film industry here was better than it is. And I know a lot of it is the government took the funds away or whatever, reduced the funds. And
That's what
it's like,
happens when you rely on subsidies.
yeah,
That's okay though, because you know what? If you're relying on that to make a movie, you just make the damn movie. Just fuck it. Make the film. If you want to make a movie, just make it. Worry about the money later.
well, you
If you
know
have
what?
a
This is
you
what
have a
impressed me
strong
about Bloodshed. You guys made it looked like something I would see on a movie screen, you know? I mean, you guys went beyond what, if somebody told me that the Bloodshed was as low budget as it was, I wouldn't have believed it. That's how well you guys shot that.
Yeah, we get that a lot. That's a huge compliment. Thank you.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. No, we shot that on a wing and a prayer for sure.
I loved it. It was impressive. And I don't go to short films a lot. I went that night to see Bloodshed. And I was glad I did. I was very impressed with it. You guys gonna release that on Blu-ray?
Oh, I don't know. Jason and we've talked about it briefly, but Jason's off making movies and fighting around the world, you know. Uh, uh what's kind of happened is we've developed a cult following.
Uh-huh.
Just recently, actually, I had somebody bump into me at the university here at the University of New Brunswick, and they asked me if that was me in that movie, and I said, "Yeah." I said, "How do you know about that?" There's somebody made a bootleg copy, and it's been circulating around the university for the last 10 years.
Oh,
So every now and again, somebody gets a copy and they watch it, and we hear about it. To me, that's a bigger compliment than getting any award. Knowing that somebody took the time to copy it and then to distribute it to their friends, saying, "You got to see this." That's why I make movies.
well, George Romero had the same attitude about Night of the Living Dead. You know, people were
Yeah,
like screening it, you know, and and he was like, he was happy that people were willing to watch his movie.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Exactly. Like I did a short film called the Christmas Gingerbread Massacre,
uh
which was a short film where all the sets and all the actors were made out of cookies.
huh.
And that was a wonderful experience. Totally experimental,
hmm
and we pulled it off. And again, Lex Jigaroff, he did all the voices in the whole film. There's like 9 characters, and Lex played them all.
Awesome.
Yeah.
One thing I had suggested back when I saw It Wants Blood, I might throw it out there now, since you and Jason Shipley are still buds, and you might be able to lasso Dennis Poirier in on this, and Miranda Wilkins. And I was wondering if there's any chance that you guys would do Bloodshed as a feature,
If somebody was to give us a budget, I'd get behind that 100%. But
because I think that
we couldn't
movie
do it.
is worthy of it.
Thank you. I think we could do it for sure. Jason can
hmm
write a script. I know he can. But it would take a budget. I mean, we couldn't do anything like that on a feature level for, we'd need some funding, real funding, so we could get some, at least one or two well-known actors. They don't have to be young actors, but somebody classic, maybe, the old Tarantino formula. Find somebody that's,
Are you kidding me? You and Dennis do it. Come on.
yeah, well, we could do that too. But if we had it would all depend. I mean, I'd be open for sure. Absolutely, I would be game.
Yeah, you and Dennis
Yeah.
didn't do a bad job.
No. We did it. We did a good job. Dennis was
Yeah.
great. I was just thinking, uh, I might have my hands full doing other things for the feature. I mean, as you know, that's a big job doing a feature film. I would love to be able to just have the actor's hat on and the producer hat, but and Jason would have to direct it. I wouldn't. It could never happen unless Jason directed it.
Well,
There's no way
you
that
wouldn't
anybody.
you wouldn't let Tommy Wiseau direct it.
I don't know. He doesn't know me, right? I mean, I'm not an easy actor to work with by any means.
He's not an easy director to work with, apparently, either.
Whatever. I don't mind directors that are hard if they know what they want. Then that's good. At least it's clear. Any kind of communication is good
Yeah,
as long as it's productive.
but how in the world could we replace Miranda Wilkins?
Oh, we
Her and
wouldn't
that
replace Miranda. No way.
you couldn't do that. Her in that skirt there with the
No, we could all do that.
cheerleader outfit, holding that chainsaw up. I'm like, yeah, we can't replace her.
No, no, she'd have to stay for sure. We'd
Yeah,
have to we'd have to weigh out all the options, that's for sure. But if somebody wants to throw out a couple of $100,000, it would be a start.
there you go.
Then you wait and see, right? That's how film goes. Sometimes you get a budget to make something big, and sometimes you don't have a huge budget, but you still have that intrinsic need to express yourself and to communicate what's inside. And in our case, it's through film. So whether I'm getting paid or not, I'm still going to make movies.
And you could, Jason Shipley could drag Mama out from under the bed and.
I got a feeling that we would need to overhaul her. She's time hasn't been very kind to Mama. Yeah, her last 13 years in the box haven't treated her very well.
No.
Well, she wasn't made the last either, right? I'm surprised she was still in one piece at the end of the shoot.
I remember that photo of Jessica Holt hauling that thing. I was like, Jessica made a new friend.
Yeah, yeah.
I like how that thing factored into the movie, though. I got to admit, it's like That was clever when you guys were like hallucinating and stuff. That was beautifully shot. I love that.
Yeah, that was a challenging shot. Uh, we had to do a lot of setups, and uh, the aftermath of that. The next morning, there's furniture that gets broken and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to tell Jason. I'm like, he said, "Okay, well, you're gonna smash the coffee table when you get up." And they were trying to figure out how to break it so that it wouldn't, and it wasn't breaking away properly. So I told Jason, I said, "Look, I'm just gonna do it for real." I said, "You're gonna get one take." I said, "It's gonna be good, but you're gonna get one take." So he's like, "All right." He says, "If you're sure about this." I said, "I'm probably gonna hurt myself, but we're doing it once." So I got up and I slammed into the coffee table and it's smashed and I staggered out the door and it looked perfect. And then Jason said, "Did you hurt yourself?" I said, "Yep." He said, "Okay."
Method acting.
Yeah, but you know what? Method acting is I tried to do some of that
Mm-hmm.
and for bloodshed, and what happened, Greg, is I got caught up in my character.
Yeah.
I became I became the character for the weekend, and that's not acting. Acting is when you turn it on and you turn it off. That's acting. Acting is when the director says action, you're the psycho, and when he yells cut, you're the normal guy again. You know,
Yeah,
I
Dennis
never under
Poirier doesn't want you to be a psycho.
no. He gets killed in the end anyways too though. I split his face open with a shovel.
Like you don't want to say to Dennis Poirier at the end of the towards the end of the shoot, say, "Hope you don't have any plans tomorrow. Clear your calendar."
Yeah. We did that once. We had a guy show up for a shoot. We were doing a gangster film, and I'd never met him before, but I saw him acting. I reached out and said, "Yeah." So he comes on set, and I go, "Oh, hey, I'm Pierre. Pleased to meet you. We're gonna kill you." He said, "Huh?" I said, "Yeah, that's the scene. Belly up to the bar." So we killed him, and we had a good time. We shot part of that in an abandoned house, and we got to use an old church. We got to use the inside of the church. It wasn't consecrated anymore, so we got to uh, we got to do a lot of neat stuff in there.
Well, what's coming up in the future? Are you still involved in filmmaking? Because I know you worked at the hospital, which is you you're going on to do some stuff in nursing and stuff like that, and I'm going into the hospital and meeting a
Well,
lot of your coworkers.
I'll tell you what, Greg. I'm always thinking about making films. I'm always getting film ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I've been getting the itch lately. Actually, I'd like to shoot something maybe this summer, but
Mm-hmm.
we'll have to see what happens. COVID has really made it
Yeah.
challenging.
Yeah.
The last 2 years, 3 years, it's been very challenging. But we're learning to work around that.
You
But
go
there's
get
always
Miranda
something.
back in it?
There's always something cooking. Yeah, I actually was having chat with her recently, and we want to do something with her and someone else, something like a Thelma and Louise type of thing, but a little more extreme.
Yeah. I got to reach out and get her on the show. Um, Reminisce about bloodshed. She was great in it. So
She was good, yeah, and that's about constantly thinking about writing stuff and
mm-hmm.
constantly, you still have to work though to make ends meet most times. Uh, some of us are lucky enough to not need a job. You can rely on film or writing or your acting abilities, but most of us do need to have a real steady income because we like to eat.
Yep.
But besides that, there's always planning and always moving forward.
Yep. Yep. That's why I'm glad I got the job I do, because I don't make money at podcasting. but I do this for fun. I love it. And but
Yeah, I could
yeah,
tell. It's
yeah.
been enjoyable talking to you.
You know what? It's been great connecting with you. I think the last time we saw each other, you're getting your car fixed up at Collins,
Yeah,
getting his brother to
yeah,
fix it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I haven't been up there since Christmas. It's like I said with Colin, there's never an off button. It's like we pick up where we left off, and I like that mentality of him.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to go back out and visit with him and his family as well. They have a nice little place out there in the
Well,
country.
his dad just turned 80. And jeepers, that guy just doesn't stop.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, they got they're a great family. His brother Mike is always working, bringing the cars to him to fix. He's always working, and yeah, I have a huge appreciation for them, and uh, and I have a huge appreciation for you.
Oh,
It's good.
thank you, Greg. I certainly appreciated the opportunity to talk this evening.
So when I go into work next, do I tell them to expect you back?
No, there's I'm I'm looking forward to a new chapter in my life.
A new chapter?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Does it involve mutilation and fishing?
and a chainsaw, probably. Yeah.
It's well, you know what? It was wonderful chatting with you, and I'll put you on my roster for next year. And if there's
Awesome.
anything, yeah, you know, and
I'd love to talk to you again.
you know what? It's a pleasure. I'm glad we got to meet on the Ask Ugg shoot, and yeah, it's been a blast. So
It has been.
yeah, it
Thank
has
you.
been. Yeah. Before I let you go, I'd love a plug.
What do you want? Okay, what do you want me to say?
Just state your name, mention bloodshed, and say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
All right. You're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise. I'm Pierre Huard, and I did Bloodshed. And let me tell you something. You want swinging chainsaws, you come and see Greg. He's the place to go.
Or Miranda Wilkins, she knows how to swing chainsaws.
She does. She does.
Or Melanie Kinnaman from Friday the 13th Part 5. She's another beautiful woman that knows how to swing a chainsaw.
There you go.
There you go. There you go. Well, Pierre, I'm going to let you get some sleep, and I got another
Okay.
guest that's going to come on here. And
Excellent. Well, it was nice talking to you. You take care.
it was nice talking to you too. God bless and keep doing what you're doing, and hopefully we'll see more stuff in the film out of you.
Awesome. Thank you, buddy. Take care. God bless.
Take care, man.